Hello friends, welcome to A Non-Viewpoint. I recently stumbled upon a small section from a random podcast where a conservative host was debating a panel of young left-leaning individuals on the age-old pro-life versus pro-choice debate. You might think, how new or interesting could that be? There probably are hundreds of such debates floating around on the internet, and that was my first thought as well. But as I listened on, I realized how different and new this particular discussion was from the others that I have probably watched in the past where similar topic was being discussed. For starters, for the most part, both sides were letting each other complete their points and not completely speaking over each other. There were of course couple of moments where one of the parties got passionate enough to interrupt the other, but the discussion, or at least the section that I saw, never devolved into being utterly pointless, as I have often seen others on similar topics too. This discussion and the way the conservative and the progressive parties were presenting their points and interacting with each other took my mind to another video that I saw earlier. This particular video explained how AI, or more specifically, Generative Adversarial Networks or GANS, works to create a convincing deepfake. At this point, something in my mind just clicked, and I believe I realized something about the roles of the right and the left and the process they follow in shaping our society. At this point, I wouldn't fault you for being utterly bewildered at why these three separate tangents of thought would even be remotely related. That is exactly what I'm here to talk about today. To start off, I would like to quickly explain how Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs for short, actually work to create a convincing deepfake. GANs use two learning models, a generator and a discriminator. The generator creates fake images aiming to fool the discriminator, which uses a fine lens to check the image for signs of weaknesses and rejects the image if it finds one. With each round, they learn from each other, constantly improving. The generator gets better at creating realistic images, while the discriminator hones its ability to detect fakes. This iterative process results in convincing deepfakes and also other AI creations. Let's picture it this way. The generator plays a role similar to a software developer who develops a piece of software to serve a specific purpose. The discriminator, on the other hand, can be seen as a quality assurance engineer who inspects the software for flaws, bugs, and inconsistencies and rejects the work if he manages to find them. They work iteratively to produce a robust software that serves the purpose determined at the outset. Going back to my earlier point, the reason why the debate invoked the memory of the time I heard about this process is because I noticed the opposing parties in the debate play out roles similar to the generator and the discriminator in GANs. The Conservative Party presented ideas or molds of a society as it exists today, or defended models of how an ideal society should be as they understand it, while the Progressive Party tried to point out the problems, flaws, inconsistencies, etc. of the ideas that they presented and tried to reject those ideas based on their observations. This got me thinking that historically, if you think about it, the roles or positions assumed by the progressive left and the conservative right have generally followed this trend. The right has majorly been the generators or the creators of societal molds or norms, while the left has assumed the position similar of the discriminators or the destroyers who find the issues, shortcomings, and faults with the status quo and who reject and seek to destroy the societal molds that the creators have generated or are defending. It can be noticed and hypothesized by some people that the very nature of the brains of people on the right and the left are different. That is probably why these two parties often have difficulty communicating or trying to relate with each other. I know for a fact that these positions are not so hard set, as I myself growing up had a very right-leaning ideology due to the upbringing that I had, and I still over the years kept moving more and more towards the left as I grew older. But these positions seem to be causing a huge rift and distance between the people who possess them more and more over time, to the point that sometimes it feels impossible for the people from these ideologies to coexist. The analogy might be stretched a little bit more than it should be, but the point of it all is that people of these opposing sides do seem to have been playing some niche roles in society in history. Recently, as it has been observed by many, both of these factions are increasingly drifting away from each other, refusing to even talk and discuss their positions with each other. This has resulted in echo chambers where people belonging to either of these positions just discuss and reinforce their already held positions. If this goes on and we do not get more discussions like the one I witnessed in that section of the podcast, we would lose on the iterative process that has historically kept together and possibly strengthened our society. It is always uncomfortable to present our views with someone who does not share them or even vehemently contests, but it is nevertheless necessary for our progress. This is the reason why seeing these opposing parties getting more and more alienated every day worries and irritates me. But that doesn't stop me from being optimistic and hoping that it is all just a temporary deviation from the norm, and that we will soon return to a time where these opposing parties will continue to interact and shape our society.